Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 8th episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. After the first round, people were already eager to see the second. All winners have proved to be exceptionally powerful, so the public was eagerly expecting to see even more epic fights. While the public spent the intermission buying snacks, going to the bathroom, or betting money on which genin would win which match, the genin themselves were trying to relax and mentally prepare for the next round. Despite the fact that most of them were tired and had even more challenging opponents this time around, their mood was much better than before. Winning their matches made them think that it would make them worthy of promotion, forgetting their respective sensei's words about genin who won their matches, sometimes more than just one, but failed to get promoted, while genin who lost impressed the examiners enough to recommend a promotion. So, it seems that we're about to fight now. Karui's voice snapped Sasuke from his thoughts. I'm glad to see that I'll have the chance to fight a fellow swordsman, she said as she eyed the sheathed katana on his back. Uzumaki has the best swordsman in the elemental nations, and as an aspiring one, it is important to me to be able to show my skill with the sword in front of Raikage-sama. I thought that the best swordsman came from Kirigakure, Sasuke pointed out. Those punks? Please, Karui scoffed. They might have fancy swords with nifty abilities, but take their swords away, and what do you have? She slowly unsheathed her own katana. Sasuke could see that, besides being a very well-crafted weapon, there was nothing that set it apart from any other sword. A sword is just as good as the person who wields it. While I agree with that, I wouldn't dismiss the 7 swordsmen so easily, Sasuke replied. I had the chance of seeing one in action more than once, and his skill isn't an exaggeration. If you say so, Karui shrugged. But if the 7 swordsmen were so hot, a generation of them wouldn't have gone down so easily against a single genin. That caught Sasuke's attention. Come again? You can't be serious. I am. In fact, I'm surprised that you didn't know about such feat, given that it was a Konoha genin, Karui pointed out. Seriously, I was expecting to see a statue of the guy or something when I came here. Sasuke was left utterly baffled. How is that he never heard of that ninja if he did such an impressive feat? As he saw Karui walking alongside his opponent into the arena, the Raikage couldn't help but sport a smirk of superiority. Ah, yes, now this is a worthy adversary for Karui, stated. Despite their dive in reputation, he was aware of how well known the power of the Uchiha was. When Karui publicly defeats the Uchiha in front of such a large audience, Kumo's might and superiority will be more than proved. That girl is talented, everybody can see that, Jiraya began. But so is Sasuke. And not just because of his clan, that kid has a lot of talent and drive to prove himself. Speaking of which, it surprises me that you still keep the remnant of that rebellious clan still around, Hokage, the Raikage noted as he glanced at Itachi. If anybody on Kumo, be a single ninja, a clan, or a whole faction, rebelled against the village's legitimate government, I would have crushed them without mercy. With all due respect, Raikage Dano, not all the Uchiha are disloyal to Konoha, Itachi interjected, even if he knew he shouldn't speak up. So I don't think why should those who remained faithful to the village should share the same fate as those who betrayed it. Darui and C flinched. The Raikage glared at Itachi, as he released no small amount of killing intent. You better watch your mouth, brat. You might be in a place reserved for the Kage, but it does not make you one. Don't even think for a second that it allows you to speak me as if I was your equal. Excuse my bodyguard, Raikage, Jiraya intervened. You brought up a very sensitive topic, and even if his outburst was completely out of place, I can't help but side with him. I'm not going to punish a loyal ninja because of the sins of their kin. The Raikage grunted. Though given the kind of criminal rabble Konoha houses nowadays, the Uchiha aren't so out of place. The Raikage stated as he eyed Zabuza. Sasuke and Karui stood in front of each other. Yugao made sure both combatants were ready to fight. The seventh match of the Chunin exam finals, between Sasuke Uchiha, from Konoha, and Karui, from Kumo, the purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Sasuke's Sharingan flared to life. Both genin unsheathed their respective katanas, and lunged at each other, firmly holding their weapons. Sharp noises of metal clashing filled the air of the stadium. They spent quite some time trading blows, pushing back and forth in a sword duel, without resorting to ninjutsu, genjutsu, or using any other kind of weapons. After a few minutes of sword fighting in which none of them managed to gain the upper hand, they paused their duel to regain some breath. "You're pretty good handling a sword. Your previous boasts weren't unjustified," Sasuke praised the foreign kunoichi. Karui smiled. "Why, thank you. I've been training with a katana even before I became a genin. Sword fighting runs through my veins." Sasuke shot her a condescending smirk. "Funny thing, given that I started learning how to use a sword not a month ago, and we're evenly matched." Her anger flaring inside of her, Karui gritted her teeth and charged Sasuke once more. This time, her blows were way more vicious and aggressive, however, they weren't any more sloppier as the youngest Uchiha had imagined. Karui's onslaught pushed Sasuke back as he struggled to parry his opponent's swings. "That fancy eye of yours will be of little help against me," Karui shouted as she pressed the attack. "Damn, that didn't work as intended." She knows how to keep her anger in check and keep herself focused, Sasuke thought as he broke the fight and jumped backwards. "Let's try something different." "How about that, Uchiha? Still think of yourself as my equal?" an angry Karui asked as she pressed her attack. "I must admit that wasn't half bad," Sasuke replied as he flew through hand seals. "Now let's see if you can keep up with me after this." Fire release, burning edge. The blade of Sasuke's katana was suddenly wreathed in flames. He twirled his flaming sword a few times, and smirked. "Do you think that impresses me? I can do that too." Karui protested as she went through different hand seals. Lightning release, thunder blade. Karui's katana started to crackle with electricity, sparks flying from its blade. No more words added, both sword fighters charged at each other, their elemental-enhanced blades at hand. However, this fight was much shorter than the previous one. The moment the blades clashed, Karui's sword cut Sasuke's as if it was made of butter. Sasuke watched in shock, his blade being sliced in two. Karui's swing had still enough momentum to make a superficial cut on Sasuke's shoulder. "Argh!" the Uchiha yelled as he dropped his now useless weapon and clutched his damaged shoulder while he jumped backwards. The added electricity made most of it numb, yet it still hurt a lot. "Ah, did that hurt? Ha ha ha." Karui cackled in triumph. "Guess that the struggle to see which one of us is the best sword fighter is no more." "I wouldn't be so sure." Sasuke then pulled out a small storage scroll, and unsealed a second katana. "I can't believe you forced me to use my spare katana. Now Shursui is never going to live this down." "Ha!" And Sasuke said that brining a spare katana was unnecessary, the oldest Uchiha stated, enjoying the natural satisfaction of being proven right. "I'm going to make sure he never hears the end of it." This time, Sasuke decided not to engage in melee combat, and pulled 4 shuriken from his ninja tool pouch, and tossed them at Karui with the skill the Uchiha were known for. Karui, however, looked undeterred. "You don't learn, don't you?" Karui said as she pulled shuriken of her own. Lightning release, shuriken lightning transmission. The Kumo kunoichi's lightning-charged shuriken easily sliced Sasuke's just like it happened when their respective katanas clashed, and continued flying towards him. Sasuke made the hand seals of his clan's signature jutsu. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Pouring a lot of chakra into the attack, Sasuke breathed a fireball large and powerful enough to stop the shuriken's momentum, heating them so much they started to melt. When the fire dispelled, he didn't saw Karui in front of him. His Sharingan managed to pick an out-of-place shadow, and looking up, he saw the Kumo Kunoichi leaping down at him, holding her lightning-infused blade above her head. Karui smirked as Sasuke raised his own sword to parry the incoming blow. Even if it was probably an unconscious reaction, the red-haired girl couldn't help but find funny the futility of such a gesture. "I hope you brought more spare swords," Karui taunted as her blade clashed against Sasuke's. However, much to her surprise, this time she was unable to cut through her opponent's blade. "What? This is what happens when you underestimate the Uchiha." Now it was Sasuke who smirked, and taking advantage of Karui's momentary lack of focus, he pushed her blade sideways and kicked her backwards. It was then when Karui noticed that the Uchiha's blade was also sparkling with electricity. An infuriating revelation dawned upon her. "Wait a minute, the Thunder Blade, you copied it from me," an angered Karui shouted. "Guilty as charged," Sasuke nonchalantly replied. "I figured out that an electric-charged sword would be unable to cut through another one. And my theory was proven right. So that's how your clan made a name for yourselves, right? By stealing other people's power and using it against them," Karui angrily accused. "We're ninja. We do everything necessary to win," Sasuke replied as he charged at her. Karui snarled in anger upon seeing that she had lost her main advantage over Sasuke in such underhanded way, but she was not going to lose. She was a strong, resourceful kunoichi, and had every intention to prove it. "Okay then, let's see how your Sharingan does against this." Karui pulled out a couple of smoke bombs from her tool pouch and tossed them at an intermediate space between the two, creating a barrier of smoke. Sasuke stopped on his tracks, and decided that it was better to wait for Karui's next move. Lightning release, lightning transmission. Karui and a clone of her dashed at Sasuke, as they held a chain made of electricity on each hand. "I did see your fight against Choji. Do you think I don't know both of them are clones that will zap me if I touch them?" Sasuke said as he jumped backwards in the air while making several hand seals. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A shower of fireballs rained upon the two Karuis, who due their speed and current state of keeping a complex jutsu active, were unable to dodge the barrage, and both of them disappeared in an electric flash. Sasuke smirked in satisfaction. Time to end this, Sasuke thought as he ran through hand seals. Fire release, Burning Man. Once again, the youngest Uchiha was covered from head to toe in a cloak of flames, and dashed at where he guessed Karui would be, leaving a trail of fire in his wake, and just like he foresaw, the Kumo Kanasehai was still behind the smoke wall, ready to throw some shuriken, which Sasuke had no problems dodging. The Konoha ninja sank his flaming fist into Karui's stomach before she had any time to do anything else and exploded in an electric flash, zapping Sasuke. "Arrgh," the youngest Uchiha shouted as he clutched his body, while his coat of flames disappeared. One of the shuriken Karui had tossed, now in the ground, exploded in a cloud of white smoke, revealing the real Karui, who started making hand seals. "Didn't see that, Uchiha? Even if you will see this, you won't be able to stop it." Karui finished doing her hand seals and unsheathed her sword once again, which crackled with electricity. "I'm done playing games. I wasn't planning on using this now, but I will have to do it." Karui's sword started to glow each second brighter. Sasuke tried to move, but the electric zap had numbed his body to a degree in which dodging was not an option. Not knowing what Karui had in store for him, Sasuke decided that it would be a good time to do the hand seals of his second strongest fire jutsu. Lightning release, Thunder Dragon Blast. Karui swung her sword forward, releasing a thick lightning bolt shaped like a dragon from it, which flew at Sasuke, letting out a metallic-sounding roar. Fortunately, Sasuke had already finished his hand seals as well. Fire release, Fire Dragon Stream. Sasuke exhaled a flame breath that also took the shape of a dragon. Both elemental dragons clashed, pushing back and forth, but none of them were able to gain the upper hand. Both Sasuke and Karui poured more chakra into their respective attacks, and by doing so, the struggle started to solve in Sasuke's favor. Karui started to panic. No! I can't lose here. I can't let both my village and Raikage-sama down. I need to win. This prompted the golden-eyed girl to channel even more chakra into the attack, pushing it backwards once again. Upon seeing her strategy working, she put even more chakra into the attack, believing she had already won. However, the power of both attacks became so big, it ended up destabilizing and creating a huge explosion. And combined with the fact that Karui was closer to the explosion than Sasuke, she had almost no chakra left to spare and her body was completely exhausted. This meant that her run on the Chunin exams had come to an end. The explosion's shockwave pushed Karui backwards, violently slamming her against the arena's wall, knocking her unconscious instantly. The blast also created an even bigger crater than those which were caused by previous fights. This didn't mean that Sasuke came out unscathed, but he was definitely in better shape than his opponent. Yugao sensed that Karui still had some chakra in her, and quickly motioned for the medic Nin to take her away. Seeing that the danger had already passed, Sasuke emerged from his hiding spot. Karui can't continue fighting. Winner of the 7th match, and first finalist, Sasuke Uchiha, the purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next match begins. The image of a Konoha ninja defeating a foreign one which had already defeated another local made the crowd to erupt in a wave of applause and cheers for the member of the usually not that liked Uchiha clan. Still, Sasuke paid them no mind, and headed back to the waiting area before Yugao had to tell him to. "Ah man, Karui lost," a dejected Omoi stated. "She's going to be so mad when she wakes up." "Well, I think she put up a good fight. Plus her opponent was pretty strong," T observed. "Now I get why do everybody mean by the power of the Uchiha. If this guy's just a genin, I don't want to see the stronger ones can do. It's bad to say this, but I'm kind of glad that most of the clan was wiped off during that insurrection. Do you think Karui will score a promotion, sensei?" Omoi asked. Killer Bee crossed his arms, and started to think. Even if Karui's result was defeat, her fight was quite a feat. She did her very best, and I believe she passed this test, since even if she lost, she proved to be stronger than most. Let's hope the examiners share my view, and Karui becomes the first Chunin of this crew. "I hope you're right, sensei," T added. Yes. Another victory for the Uchiha clan. Go Sasuke! Shursui excitedly yelled, his fist high in the air. Then she looked at his girlfriend and smiled awkwardly. And another victory for the medical squad too. I didn't forget about that. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Sasuke won, but, well, Shizen grew uneasy. It's kind of a bummer seeing the only non-medic of the medical squad doing well. And after this victory, Sasuke's promotion is pretty much assured. If only Karen had won her match too. Look at the bright side. Your team was the only one besides Team Kurenai who got more than one genin to the finals. Plus the only genin of the other respective 3 teams also lost their fights as well, Shursui pointed out. The Chunin hopefuls for this year's exam are pretty powerful, and not just the ones from Konoha. You'll see how Sakura and Karen do much better the next time. Yeah. Maybe the next exam there won't be any Jinchuriki, Shizen mentioned, once again seeing how Jinchuriki had become the bane of her team. While the Raikage didn't make it evident, Karui's defeat left him fuming. It appeared that not even somebody as loud and prone to anger as they wanted to throw a tantrum in front of other 2 Kages, it wasn't sure how did he feel towards Shibuki. However, the amount of killing intent he was radiating evidenced his mood. Itachi's small but still noticeable smirk didn't help either. Don't get mad, Raikage. Karui put an incredible fight against Sasuke. Plus it's not that she didn't give her village a prior victory, Jiraya began. If I was an examiner, I would recommend her for a promotion. The Raikage turned his head at Jiraya and shot him a chilling glare. You haven't seen me mad yet, Hokage. And pray you would not be present if such day arrives. As Sasuke allowed himself to relax, he noticed how much chakra he had expended for the fight, and how sore his muscles were. Unless his opponents ended up in the same predicament, there was no way he could give it all in the final. He entered the competitor's box, hoping for the next 2 matches to be as long as possible so he could have some time to rest his tired body. "Hey, Sasuke!" Naruto's loud voice called. He looked at the blonde. "Nice work you did out there." "Thank you," Sasuke replied in a polite tone. "It would be a shame if you lost before we could get to fight," Naruto added, laughing a bit. "For that to happen, you still have 1 match to win," Sasuke reminded him. "And while your girlfriend doesn't look like much at first sight, her match showed that there's more to her than meets the eye." "Huh, yeah, Hinata is pretty strong and hey, wait a minute, girlfriend?" Naruto asked, blushing a bit. "You two aren't exactly subtle. And frankly, it's getting kind of annoying now," Sasuke stated. "Then do you think it's true that she might like me back?" Naruto asked, lowering his voice so Hinata couldn't pick up the conversation. Sasuke just stared at his blonde rival. "Sometimes, I wonder how the hell you got so far with that empty head of yours." "Hey!" Naruto protested. It was the second time somebody told him that. "Take that back. I'm as smart as I'm strong. But then again, what you lack in brains, you make up in raw power and determination, so I think you should be good," Sasuke added. "I won't bid you good luck, since good ninja don't rely on such a thing." Thanks?" The blonde then headed towards Hinata, who was at the edge of the waiting area, absent-mindedly looking at the arena. "Is she just as nervous to fight me as I am to fight her?" Naruto wondered. The two of them were the only ones who would have to fight a teammate. "Hey, Hinata, you ready?" "Ready as I'll ever be," Hinata replied. "Thanks again for sharing some of your chakra with me. I don't think I'd have any strength to fight if it wasn't for that." "Hey, then the match would be no fun, right?" Naruto asked, and laughed a bit. "So, should we get going?" Hinata nodded, and started walking alongside Naruto. "Look, Nichan's about to fight again," Hanabi excitedly pointed out as Hinata and Naruto walked into the arena. "Hope she will use the Heavenly Thunderstorm again." "Heavenly Thunderstorm?" Hikari replied, confused. "Yeah, that move she used to knock out her earlier opponent. Because that definitely wasn't a heavenly spin, that's why I gave it another, more fitting name," Hanabi explained. "I want to see it again." "Even then, that move seemed to be the result of hasty improvisation," Hikari replied. "And I don't think it will work against such a skilled opponent like Naruto-kun. And that's not even counting that he's a wind type." "It can't be," Niji said in awe, his Byakugan activated. "What's wrong, son?" his father asked him. "Hinata-sama's chakra reservist theory completely full," the Hyuga prodigy pointed out. Hikari raised an eyebrow. "That can't be right. The Heavenly Thunderstorm drained a good chunk of her chakra." She activated her own Byakugan, and noticed that her nephew was right. "Impossible. Maybe she ate a ration pill?" Hizashi suggested. "So are we calling it Heavenly Thunderstorm?" "Good," Hanabi said, pleased. "Let's hope Nichan also likes the name." So, Naruto and Hinata are about to fight. "Now I know how Shizen felt when Naruto fought Sakura," Kurenai said. "I can't root for one over the other. Try to think that whoever wins, one of your genin will go to the finals," Asuma told her. "I would have preferred it if both of them made it to the finals," Kurenai dejectedly replied. "Hey, at least one of your genin will go there." "My only genin lost the first round," Asuma reminded her. "And in the end, there can only be one winner. By the way, given that they're your students, who do you think it's going to win?" "That's easy. Naruto, no contest," Kurenai flatly replied. Asuma raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Wow, that was fast. You didn't even take a minute to think about it. Is the difference between their skill and power that big?" "Not just between them. I'd say Naruto is way stronger than most of his former classmates. The only ones who would give him a challenge are Sasuke Uchiha, Neji Hyuga, Rock Lee, and maybe Tenten. It was commonly assumed that all Genin, Chunin, etc., had more or less the same skill and power, but that was a lie product of oversimplification. There could be a huge difference between two ninja sporting the same rank. Both Kurenai and Asuma were Jonin, but while Kurenai was recently promoted after staying a few years as a special Jonin, mostly thanks to her talent with Genjutsu, Asuma managed to reach the rank before he was 18, just like Guy and Kakashi. And it was unlikely that other special Jonin she knew, such as Enko or Ebisu, would even be promoted anytime soon. The 5 mentioned by Kurenai could be considered elite genin. They were so above the average genin, that their rank was pretty much in name only, which was a testament of their skill and strength. When they were promoted, they would only remain as chunin for a couple years at most before they were promoted again to jonin or at least special jonin. Most of their teammates would take much longer to achieve such rank, that's it, if they managed to move past chunin. Well, Sasuke is a finalist. If Naruto makes it to the finals too, at the very least we'll get an exciting fight to see. Come on Naruto, you have to make me a rich woman. Tsunade stated in excitement, holding a multitude of betting tickets against her chest. But after Temari, Hinata shouldn't be much of a challenge. You're forgetting about Naruto-kun's feelings for Hinata, Tsunade-sama, Shizun reminded her. And thus it might hamper his performance. Not to mention that Hinata isn't as weak as she looks. Tsunade frowned. That brat better listen to his brain instead of his hormones. If he knows what's good for him. Go, Naruto Nizan. Hagane yelled. But don't hit Hinata too hard or else she won't want to marry you. Kaida added. God damn it, why can't they keep those brats silent? Naruto cursed inwardly. He then looked at Hinata, who was blushing and staring to the ground. Great, they made Hinata upset. Combatants ready? Yugao asked, looking at both the blonde and the brunette, who looked rather uneasy but nothing seemed apparently wrong. In that case the 8th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Naruto Uzumaki, from Konoha, and Hinata Hyuga, from Konoha, the purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Hinata raised her head, no longer blushing, her face no longer appeared bashful, but now reflecting a look of determination. I know I can't win this fight. Naruto-kun is way too strong for me, Hinata thought. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't give my very best. For Naruto-kun. For my family. For my promotion. I'll make sure this is a fight no one will ever forget. Byakugan. Hinata's bloodline activated, and adopted a fighting stance. Naruto grinned and made the hand seal of his most used jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A multitude of clones appeared alongside him. Hinata wasn't fazed, she was already used to it thanks to the countless hours she sparred against Naruto. Though she had to remind herself that this time Naruto would go all out against her. Attack! Upon the order was issued, the clones charged forward. Some of them pulled a few kunai and shuriken and tossed them at the Hyuga. Hinata also pulled out a couple kunai, and used them to deflect the incoming projectiles. However, while she did so, most Narutos were already in close combat range. This didn't deter Hinata in the slightest, though. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. Each strike was a precise blow that managed to dispel each clone, until only the original remained in the back. Seeing it was her turn to attack, Hinata made several hand seals. Lightning release, thunderbolt. An array of blue lightning bolts flew from her fingers at the confident blonde, which also made several hand seals of his own. Wind release, wind wall. A tornado formed around Naruto, which easily stopped and dispelled Hinata's electrical attack. However, while he was doing so, Hinata used the moment to close the gap between them, and ready to palm strike. "Come on Hinata, I've sparred against you countless times, I know how to block the gentle fist," Naruto thought as he was about to push Hinata's wrist aside. However, much to his surprise, Hinata's hand closed into a fist, and instead of aiming at one of his easiest to close tenketsu in the chest, the Hyuga moved her fist towards his face. This sudden change made Naruto fail to deflect the attack, and given that Hinata was using Tsunade's chakra-enhanced strength to the best of her ability, it resulted in a painful hit that sent the Jinchuriki flying backwards until his body slammed against the arena's wall. "Oh man, I knew that Sakura wouldn't be the last time Mom's technique would come back to bite me in the ass," Naruto thought as he got back on his feet and rubbed his hurt face, trying his best to ignore the pain. "Nice one, Hinata. Didn't see that coming." "Thanks," Hinata replied, not dropping her fighting stance. "I know I can't defeat you if I am predictable." Hinata then formed several hand seals, which Naruto knew too well. Lightning release, thunder palm. Hinata's hand started to crackle with electricity. Her signature jutsu now active, the Hyuga Eris charged at Naruto. Shadow clone jutsu. A barrier of orange-clad clones appeared between Hinata and the original Naruto. Without Naruto having to tell them anything, the clone army charged at Hinata. The first clone managed to sink his fist into Hinata's gut, who strangely enough made no effort to defend herself and vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving a large rock in her place. "What the?" The blonde had no time to think before Hinata suddenly appeared in close-quarter combat range and managed to deliver a couple lightning-charged palm strikes to Naruto's gut and the right shoulder. Clutching his injured areas, Naruto jumped back. Hinata tried to continue her onslaught, but the clones once again got in the way. Lightning release, 8 trigrams 32 thunder strikes. While Hinata destroyed the clones, Naruto used the mystical palm jutsu to heal the zones Hinata had damaged with her sneak attack. He managed to heal his shoulder completely when Hinata destroyed the last of his clones. "Damn it, since when did Hinata become this aggressive?" Naruto asked in disbelief. "I might have to use the Rasengan if she keeps such a pace." After she was done with the clones, Hinata wasted no time and went for the original Naruto, still healing himself. However, upon seeing his teammate turn temporary enemy, Naruto stopped and made several hand seals. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Naruto projected an horizontal cyclone from his hands, which caught Hinata just a couple meters before she could reach him in close combat, and violently knocked her backwards, making her fall on her back. "You almost got me there, Hinata," Naruto praised as he tossed a couple kunai with a flaming seals on them, much to Hinata's horror. The Hyuga tried to get up as fast as possible while Naruto made the same hand seals as before. Wind release, cyclone vortex. This time, Naruto only used one hand to cast his most used wind jutsu, resulting in a weaker version. When the cyclone passed over the flaming seals, Naruto made a hand seal with his other hand in order to activate them. The seals exploded in 2 balls of fire, which merged with the cyclone into a tornado of flames. Vacuum palm wall. Hinata thrust both hands forward, releasing a huge vacuum shell that clashed against the vortex of fire. The collision of both attacks resulted in a huge explosion. Even if its shockwave wasn't strong enough to knock down either combatant, it raised quite a few clouds of smoke and dust. "This is my chance. I can see through the smoke while Naruto-kun can't," Hinata thought as she charged forward. However, Naruto wasn't stupid, and knew that Hinata would use the smoke and dust to her advantage, and prepared a countermeasure. Wind release, great breakthrough. Naruto expelled a powerful stream of wind through his mouth, quickly dispelling the large cloud of smoke and dust obscuring most of the arena, and revealing Hinata dashing at him. However, the moment he just finished that jutsu, Hinata grabbed something from her tool pouch and tossed it to the ground, revealing to be a smoke bomb when it detonated and created a second cloud of smoke, one that Naruto wouldn't have enough time to dispel. Of course, that didn't mean that Naruto was defenseless, not in the slightest. Shadow clone jutsu. Once again, a barrier of clones appeared in front of Naruto. Thank goodness this jutsu is instant, or else I would be screwed, Naruto thought in relief. And even with the Byakugan, Hinata has no way of telling which is the real me. She'll have to fight against the clones while I dispel the smoke. Wait, why I don't hear my clones fighting? The answer came a couple seconds later in the form of an unexpected explosion that completely poofed all the clones instantly, while sent Naruto rolling backwards against the arena's wall. So she threw an explosive tag at my clones instead of directly attacking herself. Oh boy, she's taking this, not being predictable, thing very seriously, Naruto groaned as he stood up. Come on Naruto-kun. I know that you're much stronger than this. Hinata called as she dashed at him. She's right. I'm not giving it all. Is it because I like her? Because she's my friend and teammate, he thought. Yet Hinata is fighting with every ounce of her power. Yes, I can't hold back. I have to fight against her as if she was any other enemy. With new resolve, Naruto made several hand seals just in time before Hinata could hit him with a palm strike. Wind release, cyclone shockwave. A tornado formed around Naruto, creating a windy shield that pushed Hinata back whenever she tried to touch him. Naruto poured more chakra into the jutsu, increasing the power of the tornado, which now it didn't just kept Hinata away, but it also sent her flying back several meters. Naruto then tossed a shuriken at her before making several hand seals. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. The single shuriken turned into 50, and much to Hinata's shock, she found a swarm of steel stars flying at her. Multiple vacuum palms. Hinata thrust one palm forward at a time a quick pace, releasing a barrage of vacuum shells that managed to block the incoming shuriken. Though even with the Byakugan, Hinata was so focused on stopping the shuriken barrage that she didn't notice Naruto sneaking upon her until he was at close quarter range. And much to Hinata's confusion, Naruto engaged her in taijutsu combat. Taken aback by such an unexpected action, Hinata was forced to fall back before Naruto's barrage of not very refined but very strong punches and kicks. Still, once the shock wore off, Hinata once again gained the upper hand. It was Naruto the one being pushed back. Naruto put some distance by jumping back before being overwhelmed, something Hinata took advantage of, and made several hand seals. Lightning release, thunder palm. Hinata's hands cracked with electricity once more as she lunged at Naruto, ready to deliver a palm strike. Naruto wouldn't have time to make the seals of one of his many wind jutsu. However, he did have a jutsu that took no time to cast. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Another army of orange-wearing blondes appeared in a circle surrounding Hinata. The Hyuga, however, ignored them and decided to focus on the original. The palm strike connected and Naruto disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Clone replacement. Of course, Hinata thought. Byakugan or not, you won't be able to defend from an attack that comes from all directions, all the Naruto clones stated as they charged her. Hinata's mouth formed an uncharacteristic smirk. That's where you're wrong, Naruto-kun. Even if it was a risky move, there was no other option. Hinata spread the lightning chakra from her hands to the rest of her body, as she started to spin. Naruto was too late to stop upon realizing what she was going to do. Heavenly spin. Hinata turned into a spinning thunderstorm, releasing lightning bolts in every direction, that instantly poofed all the Naruto clones, while blasting the original back several meters. Still, the blonde could help but notice that this version of Hinata's new attack was much less destructive than the one before, maybe because the second time Hinata knew how to control it a bit better, and not to use so much chakra on it. When Hinata was done spinning, she wasn't dizzy, and her body was still flickering with electricity. Damn, that attack again, Naruto stated as he got up. I can't believe I forgot about that. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, Hinata said, mildly satisfied. Come on Naruto-kun, I'm sure you have a way to counter this. I do, Naruto admitted. But I was hoping I could defeat you without having to resort to it. Guess I have no choice. Naruto extended his arm, and on his hand a sphere of chakra began to form. Okay Hinata, you're going to be the first to witness the jutsu I've been working on this past month. Are you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, Naruto-kun. Through her Byakugan, Hinata saw that despite its relatively small size, the sphere had an incredibly dense chakra. If all that chakra were to be released at once, the effect would be devastating. That jutsu is way too powerful for any genin to resist. If my version of the heavenly spin can do the trick, the Hyuga thought. Naruto dashed at Hinata, holding the chakra sphere on one hand. Hinata wasted no time and started to spin again. Heavenly spin. Fortunately, Naruto was close enough to her to use his trump card before Hinata's defense could knock him back. Rasengan. Both attacks collided, trying to overpower each other. However, after a few seconds of struggle, the Rasengan started to expand, while Hinata's spinning speed started to slow down. The result was a massive explosion, blasting both combatants flying in opposite directions, landing with a loud thud. When the smoke dispersed, everybody saw Naruto and Hinata down on the ground, immobile. People started to murmur, wondering what could have happened, and the possibility of a double knockout. However, after a couple seconds, Naruto started to get up. Yugao went to check Hinata. She was still miraculously conscious, albeit in great pain. Her whole body trembled. She tried to move, but her body was too exhausted. Meanwhile, Naruto was already back on his feet. The winner was clear. Hinata is no condition to fight. Winner of the 8th match, Naruto, the purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next round begins. Yes. Naruto cheered. Not even the thought of his crush and best friend being already out of the competition, by his own hand, no less, was enough to keep the blonde down. He then walked towards Hinata, still lying on the ground. Hinata? And Naruto-kun, the Hyuga replied in a whisper. How was I? You were amazing, the Jinchuriki beamed. I had no idea you were so powerful. There were some times I thought I was going to lose. You would never lose against somebody like me, Hinata replied. Don't sell yourself so short, Hinata. Like you said before, you wouldn't have gotten so far if you didn't deserve it, Naruto told her. Hinata smiled. I guess you're right. It will be a pity that I won't be able to see you in the finals, pity indeed. But I know that you will be rooting for me, and that's enough, Naruto replied. The stadium's medic Nin arrived, and placed Hinata on a stretcher before they took her away. With nothing else for Naruto to do, the blonde returned to the waiting area. Yes. Tsunade loudly cheered. Now if you excuse me, I have to make my fortune even bigger. Tsunade said before leaving to change all his tickets for cash, which she would use to buy more betting tickets. Shizen shook her head at Tsunade, but then smiled upon seeing Naruto talking with the downed Hinata. I think that this had to be Naruto's hardest fight so far. What are you saying? You told me the kind of opponents Naruto had to face before. Hinata wasn't among the strongest, Shursui pointed out. Shizen shook her head again. That's irrelevant. Hinata is Naruto's first and best friend for quite a long time. And his recent feelings for her go beyond mere friendship. Being forced to fight against such a person, even in a friendly and controlled environment like this one, is never easy. Let's hope Naruto, nor any of us, have to fight against a loved one again in the future. Shizen's words reminded Shursui of the night the Uchiha clan rebelled. Itachi probably had to fight and kill many clansmen he was close to, including his own father. The ninja world was a cruel place indeed. Hikari sighed in resignation. I had hopes that Hinata would be able to defeat Naruto-kun, but in the end it wasn't mean to be. Naruto is a very strong opponent. Hinata-sama never had a chance, Niji somberly stated. But the fact that she pressed Naruto so much in order to make him resort to such a powerful jutsu to defeat her speaks volumes. Does this mean that Hinata-nichan won't be Chunin anymore, mother? Hanabi asked. Hikari shook her head. She still has a chance if the examiners were impressed enough with her fights, Hanabi-chan. Well, I was impressed. Very impressed. Only an idiot wouldn't think that Hinata-nichan isn't good enough to be a Chunin, Hanabi stated. When Naruto returned to the competitor's box, he was greeted by the sight of the 3 remaining genin, Sasuke, Gaara and Fu. And soon one of the latter two would be out. Congratulations on your second victory, Naruto, Gaara told him. Yeah, it was a fight to remember. Fu added. See? I told you that you could defeat her, Sasuke told him. Even if she gave you a harder time than I expected. But then again, I could see you were holding back. I wasn't holding back. Naruto protested. Hinata is strong as hell. I mean, I had to use the Rasengan to defeat her, while I was hoping I could show it when I was fighting either you or the other finalist. Speaking of which, I hate to admit it, but it was one hell of a jutsu, Naruto, Sasuke praised. Now I have to come up with something strong enough to surpass it. Ha! You'd wish. That jutsu was created by the 4th Hokage himself. Good luck coming up with something better, Naruto boasted. Sasuke crossed his arms, and snorted dismissively. Even the lowest of the Uchiha are geniuses compared to the average ninja, and I stand among the best of them. And with the help of Itachi Nizen and Shursui it won't even be a challenge. Naruto had the feeling that Sasuke's words weren't just empty boasts, but was looking forward to see what his rival would come up with. In fact, an idea was already brewing in Sasuke's mind. Meanwhile, in the Kage box, 2 of the leaders present were eagerly expecting the next match, both with high hopes for their only representative. Well, Shibuki, your girl is indeed an impressive kunoichi, but she had the misfortune to be matched against Gaara, Raza stated, his lips forming a smile of superiority. There's no way she can defeat him. Shibuki wasn't going to let this bullying asshole to intimidate him or demean his village. And I admit that Gaara's defense is truly something to behold, but like that Konoha kunoichi proved, there's no such thing as an impenetrable defense. Maybe, but do you think that your girl can pierce it? You have her in too high esteem, it would seem, Raza replied. Fu is way more powerful than she lets on. You aren't the first one who underestimates her abilities, Shibuki rebuked. You mean because she's a Jinchuriki? Raza casually mentioned. Both Jiraya and Ei raised an eyebrow, albeit in Jiraya's case, he was pretending to be surprised, while Shibuki paled for the second time that day. Oh, don't give me that look, the girl isn't exactly subtle. That careless attitude will get her killed one day. Say, how about if we enjoy the fight instead? Jiraya intervened before the discussion could get more heated. Besides, it will be a good way of finding out which one is right. Gaara and Fu walked into the arena. Since this fight involved 2 foreign ninjas, the public didn't show as much interest as in previous match. Still, there was a noticeable number of people eager to see them fight, simply because the red-haired boy and the green-haired girl proved to be very strong ninja, and their fight would be everything but boring. Don't think I forgot what you did, Fu stated in an oddly threatening tone. And I didn't forgive you. A confused Gaara raised a non-existent eyebrow. This was the first time he even traded a line with the bizarre girl, so he couldn't help but wonder what he did to merit such reaction. I'm afraid I don't know what are you talking about, Gaara replied in his usual calmness. Ha! Don't think that by pretending to have amnesia that I'm going to go easy on you. Fu replied, as she stomped her foot on the ground. I'm being sincere. I never saw you in my life, so I don't know what kind of felony I did to enrage you so much, Gaara insisted. In that case, I'll refresh your memory, you eliminated Shino from the exams. Fu dramatically stated as she pointed an accusatory finger at Gaara. And as his friend, and hopefully something more one day, it is my duty to avenge him. Oh, was all what Gaara said. See? That's what I was talking about. Ino told Shikamaru. The lazy Nara merely rolled his eyes in annoyance. Did she? Kiba began, a bit flabbergasted. Did she loudly shout that she wants to be more than just friends with you, Shino? So it seems, Shino replied in his usual stoicism. I believe that this deserves a thorough conversation with her in order to establish the kind of relationship we want. No offense, Shino, but I never thought you were the type of guy that could get a girl fall for him so fast, Kakashi commented. Then again, as kids your age usually say, chicks dig mysterious guys. None taken, Shino replied. She's a great girl, but I don't know her that much. Plus the fact that she's from another village would make it even more complicated. Do I really want a relationship with her, the Abure mare thought. Seeing that they no longer traded any more words, Yugao thought it was about time to begin. You two ready? In that case, the 9th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Gaara, from Suna, and Fu, from Taki, the purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Sand started to pour from Gaara's word the second Yugao's last word left her lips. For her part, Fu stepped backwards and made several hand seals. Water release, water bullet jutsu. Fu released a powerful stream of water from her mouth. Gaara's sand automatically erected a barrier around him. However, the barrier soaked the water, becoming mud in the process. Just like Fu had planned. Summoning her wings, the green-haired flew at Gaara, plowing through the softened sand barrier, her fist reared back ready to punch the Suna ninja's face. However, much to her surprise, the sand erected a second barrier centimeters from Gaara's face, which managed to absorb the force of the green-haired girl's punch. When the sand moved to wrap around her, Fu quickly flew upwards, escaping a potential defeat. My turn, Gaara said as he made a hand seal. Wind release, sand shuriken. Deadly sand projectiles flied at Fu at an amazingly fast speed. The flying kunoichi had a hard time matching their speed, and while she managed to dodge most of them, one of her wings was hit, nullifying her flying ability, and making her to crash into the ground below, creating yet another crater in the arena. Ouch, Fu muttered as she climbed out of the crater. My wings, me beautiful wings. Sorry, Gaara stoically, but sincerely said. Will they heal? Yes. But it will take a lot of time, the green-haired girl protested. I see. Nevertheless, don't expect me to go easy on you because of that, and with a hand wave, Gaara launched a tide of sand at the Taki kunoichi. Fu instinctively deployed her wings, only to feel a wave of pain instead. Cursing, she was forced to run away in order to avoid being buried under the sand tsunami. Damn it. Was I so dependent on my wings that I'm this helpless without them? The green-haired girl cursed inwardly. No. I still have plenty of tricks to spare. I'll show that creepy kid and everybody else. Fu made a single hand seal. Hiding in the scale powder jutsu. Fu opened her mouth, and exhaled a large quantity of glittery powder, which reflected so much light that it blinded pretty much everybody. Fu took the chance and dashed at Gaara, reminding herself of not using her wings, ready to punch his face. Unfortunately, her fist only connected with a wall of sand. What? The sand can act on its own? Fu asked, flabbergasted. Indeed, Gaara replied, as he rubbed his eyes. A thread of sand then coiled around Fu's legs. However, this is all my doing. Hey, what are you, whoah? Gaara's sand whip started to repeatedly slam Fu into the ground, switching between swinging her to the left and to the right. Eventually, he let her go when he thought that she had enough. But Fu's resilience proved to be too much when the girl got up as if the severe beating only gave her a minor headache. Oh, wow, everything spins, Fu slurred as she grabbed her head with one hand. I think I might have a concussion, so, are you going to ask me what do they feed me? Gaara raised a non-existent eyebrow. Why should I ask such a thing? The green-haired girl shrugged. I dunno. Everybody does. Usually after they beat me into the ground just like you did. I don't know what it has to do with anything, but it has been a thing since I got here. I'm not from Konoha, the red-headed ninja stated in a neutral tone. That might explain it. Anyway, Fu made a hand seal. Transformation Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Fu transformed into Gaara, much to everybody else's confusion. Fu pulled out 2 kunai and dashed at the Jinchuriki of the One Tail. You didn't see that coming, do you? Fu asked in Gaara's voice, but with her usual cheerful and chipper tone. However, when Fu tried to stab Gaara, she found herself hitting once again a wall of sand. Gaara wasted no time, and trapped her in a cocoon of sand which left only the head exposed. Her transformation was also undone. I don't know what you were trying to do with that, Gaara began. Well, I kinda noticed that your sand goes on its own, so I thought that maybe I could fool it by disguising myself as you, Fu explained, not too concerned about her current predicament. Not a bad idea. Would have worked if the chakra that moves the sand wasn't connected to my very being, Gaara replied. Then again, such a mistake will cost you this match. Fu smiled widely. No, it won't. And she disappeared in a poof of smoke, leaving a log behind. Gaara felt a current of air at his back, and turned around to see Fu with her fist reared back, said fist surrounded by a small tornado. Hurricane Punch. Once again, Gaara's ultimate defense triggered, making a wall of sand that absorbed the impact of the punch. However, it failed to absorb the burst of wind the attack unleashed, which sent Gaara flying back several meters. The sand, however, made a cushion that softened the fall. Now is my chance. Fu said as she dashed towards Gaara, as wind began to whirl around her arms. When she closed the gap, she thrust both arms forward. Double Hurricane Punch. Fu released 2 powerful horizontal tornadoes that managed to bypass Gaara's sand shield and hit the Suna ninja, who promptly burst into sand. Like I already told you, you already lost, Gaara's voice said behind her. Fu tried to turn back, but she couldn't, looking down. She saw her legs being trapped by sand, leaving her stuck. Threads of sand started to dangerously whirl around her. Please surrender, Gaara continued as she walked towards her, his arm extended. I do not wish to cause you more harm than necessary. And I told you that if you expect me to give up, you have another thing coming. Fu defiantly replied, as she struggled with the sand trapping her feet, unable to break free. She rummaged through her ninja pouch hoping to find something that could help with her current predicament, when her fingers touched something she had forgotten was there. Pulling it out, she saw it was a vial with a blue liquid on it. Shibuki had given her that vial, and told her to only use it on a life-or-death situation. The green-haired girl wondered if she should drink the vial or not. On one hand, this wasn't a life-or-death situation. She could easily surrender, and go back home completely unscratched. But on the other hand, what would people think of her village if its only representative walked away when things got difficult? No, giving up wasn't an option. Shibuki had trusted the village's future to her, and she couldn't betray that trust. Her decision already made, Fu opened the vial and drank its contents. At that moment, a second sand cocoon formed around her body, leaving only her head exposed. I believe you don't have another body replacement prepared in advance, Gaara guessed. So the effects of the vial were immediate. Fu felt a surge of power rushing through her body, and her chakra flared, forming a glowing blue aura around her. It was so potent, it was able to push the sand away, breaking the cocoon. Oh yes! This is amazing! Fu yelled at the top of her lungs. Get ready for the worst beating of your life, redhead. And the green-haired girl vanished in front of him. No! Shibuki yelled as he got up from his chair and rushed towards the edge of the box. No, 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 no. What's wrong, Shibuki-san? Jiraya asked, confused. Fu seems to be doing pretty good so far. Why the outburst? You don't get it, Shibuki replied, shaken. What Fu Didi told her only to do it under extreme circumstances, but guessed that I had to specify that these matches didn't count. Tell me, Jiraya, do you know about the treasure of my village? Fu didn't recover the ability to fly, but she was moving so fast it barely made a difference. Coupled with her hard hits, the green-haired girl had become a genuine threat. Why do I always have to fight against people who outspeed my sand? Gaara internally complained. Then again, not all victories can be as easy as against the bug ninja. Fu snapped Gaara from his thoughts thanks to a well-aimed punch. Even if his sand armor absorbed most of the impact, he could still feel the pain of the punch. Before Fu had time to continue her onslaught, the redhead called the sand back and used it to form a protective dome. Fu began to wildly pound on the dome, which started to crack. Gaara made a hand seals, and huge sand spikes grew in every direction, forcing the Seven Tails Jinchuriki to jump back. Do you think you can hide from me? Fu yelled as he made several hand seals. Water release, water bullet jutsu. Fu expelled from her mouth an incredibly powerful stream of water, almost like a torrent, towards the sand dome, which was unable to hold the attack, and crumbled down as it absorbed the water and turned into mud. Gaara used his remaining sand to propel himself upwards. Fu smirked. Gotcha. In a split second, Fu leaped into the air, and found herself in front of Gaara. However, before she could punch him again, she noticed a tentacle of sand wrapping around her leg. Oh shit, not this again. The sand tentacle only slammed her against the floor once. However, Gaara was already preparing his next attack, and 5 streams of sand were already upon her. Making use of her newfound speed and agility, Fu skillfully dodged the constant sand attacks, but she was unable to find an opening to attack. Eventually, Fu made a mistake and didn't dodge a sand stream, which made her lose her balance and fell down on her butt. Now! Gaara thought as he quickly brought his palms together. Sand tsunami. Gaara used all his sand, and then some, to bury Fu alive. He used every ounce of his strength to keep her underneath. If he was able enough to contain her until she lost consciousness, the match would be over. Unfortunately, it didn't last as long as he had expected. All that sand wasn't enough to contain Fu, which burst from the sand tomb with an overwhelming force. All those present noticed that her blue aura had turned red. I'm sick of your sand. Fu bellowed as she dived at him. Gaara managed to jump backwards before the green-haired meteor hit the ground, adding yet another crater to the ground. The arena floor was mostly craters right now, but that didn't deter her in the slightest. Hokage-sama, you have to stop this. Shibuki pleaded. Jiraiya nodded, indeed. I know how dangerous can dash, you won't do such a thing, Hokage, Raza interjected. Jiraiya looked at his fellow Kage as if he grew a second head. Are you mad, Kazekage? Fu is losing control of her tailed beast. She's a danger to everybody, herself included. I'm aware of the dangers, Hokage. But I'm sure Gaara can handle this, Raza reassured. He looked at the arena, oddly satisfied. You'll see it now. Upon seeing her new chakra cloak, it didn't take long for Shino to put 2 and 2 and deduce the source of the girl's strange powers. So, she's a Jinchuriki like Naruto and Gaara, the Aburame thought. This is an interesting turn of events. Die! Fu yelled as she dashed towards Gaara once again. Her chakra cloak had taken the form of a beetle, with a tail forming on its back. I can't believe I have to resort to this a second time, Gaara thought as he made a hand seal. Ultimately hard absolute defense, shield of Shikaku. Another hat-wearing replica of Shikaku appeared between Gaara and Fu, except this time it was twice as big as the one he summoned against Tenten. Undeterred, Fu crashed against the sand shield, and in her enraged state, rather than simply circumventing it, she tried to tear it down with the force of her fists. Each hit boomed loudly through the whole stadium, and soon the Shikaku replica started to crumble, until a particularly strong punch tore it in half. Yes. Destroyed. Now you go any dash. Ultimately hard absolute attack, spear of Shikaku. Fu didn't have time to ask where did Gaara got that halberd, apparently made of sand, before he embedded it into her shoulder, and pinned her into the ground. Eh! She screamed as she futilely tried to remove the spear from her shoulder. However, it didn't budge. Little by little, as the pain increased, Fu noticed how her strength withered away. Even the tailed beast chakra could only help her so far, and her red aura flickered away. Eventually, the immense pain combined with her diminishing strength made the green-haired girl to lose consciousness. Once Gaara made sure that she was out, he undid the spear, which turned back into sand. Yugao went to check the fallen kunoichi. She was badly wounded, but alive. She gestured the medic Nin in order to take her away. Fu can't keep fighting. Winner of the 9th match, and 3rd finalist, Gaara. Yugao announced. There will be a recession of 15 minutes before the final match begin. Unlike the previous rounds, the finalists will receive medical attention before the match begins. See? I told you Gaara could handle her, Raza told Shibuki while sporting an incredibly smug smile. And, as you can see, she isn't exactly careful with her Jinchuriki status. After that display, you can forget about keeping it a secret. Shibuki sighed in defeat. I should have never given her the hero water, but I wanted her to be safe. Kakashi had told Jiraya about the hero water when he and his team escorted Shibuki to Taki a few weeks ago. It was a special liquid produced by the great tree of Taki once every 100 years. Drinking it greatly increased the power of your chakra for a short time, but the backlash would potentially harm the body in a permanent way, similar to the celestial gates. And as it was shown moments ago, if a Jinchuriki drank it, not only increased the power of their chakra, but of their tailed beast as well, which would make the Jinchuriki to lose control of their power. Hokage-sama, is it okay if I go to the infirmary to check on Fu? Shibuki asked, ignoring the Kazekage. Sure you can, but you're going to miss the final match, Jiraiya told him. Shibuki chuckled sadly. Given that no Taki ninja takes part, I don't have much interest in seeing it. I have no doubt it will be spectacular. Reikage Dano, Kazekage Dano, if you excuse me, and Shibuki left the Kage box. Not that A or Raza minded. In fact, the latter seemed to be satisfied that there were only Kage and their bodyguards present. Truth be told, A didn't have any interest in the match either, and was tempted of using Shibuki's excuse as well, but it would be seen as a gesture inappropriate for a Kage, and thus decided to stay. Well, Kazekage, the final match will begin shortly. Aren't you excited? Because I certainly am, Jiraiya told his fellow Kage. Oh, yes, about that, Raza replied as if he suddenly remembered something. Do you think I'm an idiot? I know what you're planning. The two Konoha genin will double-team Gaara to kick him out of the fight as early as possible, so they can hog the spotlight. I won't tolerate such thing happening. The Toad Sage raised an eyebrow. What? You can't be sure of that. Besides, Naruto has a bond with Gaara since both of them are Jinchuriki. Maybe it's them who team up against Sasuke. Or nobody teams up and it's a three-way brawl. I stand by my demands, Hokage. I want a different outcome, Raza insisted. And what do you want me to do? There are only 3 genin left, and I can't kick one of them out of the competition like that. Easy. Have the 2 Konoha genin fight each other. The winner can fight Gaara, Raza suggested. Are you insane? I'm not going to do such a thing that would put my genin in a such disadvantageous position. Jiraiya fired back, indignant. Okay, I know that I'm asking much without giving something else in return, Raza then looked around, as if trying to come up with something, until his eyes rested on Zabuza. How about if I drop all charges against Zabuza? I believe it's a generous offer. Jiraiya pondered the Kazekage's words. Not having to dealt with Zabuza's past crimes against Suna later was indeed a plus. On one hand, only one Konoha genin would make it to the finals, and said genin would be more tired than Gaara, giving the redhead an easy victory, and a lot of publicity to Suna. On the other hand, Naruto and Sasuke were two of the most, if not the most, powerful genin right now. Even if it wasn't the finals, a match between them would also impress Konoha's current and potential customers. Besides, it's possible that such gamble would backfire on Raza. Some people would see it as a cowardly gesture, that Suna is too afraid to face difficult odds. If that's what he wanted, then so be it. Alright, I accept your terms. On the condition that the winner will also be healed once again before he faces Gaara, Jiraiya added. I find it reasonable. We have a deal, then? Raza said with a smirk of superiority. Good. Jiraiya didn't know how much longer he could resist before he succumbed to the burning desire of strangling Raza to death. Meanwhile, in the arena, after being properly healed, the three finalists were in front of Yugao. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto Uzumaki. Gaara. Congratulations for making to the finals, but the hardest part comes now. Sometimes, a fight will involve more than just two parties, and thus you will need to know how to dash. Yugao was interrupted when Itachi's body flickered beside her, startling everybody there. Brother? Sasuke asked in confusion. Itachi whispered something inaudible at Yugao's ear, who turned at him in surprise and mouthed something Sasuke identified as, "You have to be kidding me," but Itachi was serious. His message once delivered, Itachi returned to the Kage box. "We have orders from Hokage-sama. There has been a change of plans," Yugao said out loud. People started to murmur. There will be one more match. Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki will fight each other, and the winner will fight Gaara in the finals. What? Naruto asked in shock. That can't be true. Sasuke protested. And they weren't the only ones. The public erupted in a cacophony of loud complaints and boos, as well as insults towards Suna and the Kazekage. So Gaara, please return to the competitor box. Sasuke, Naruto, prepare to fight. After being taken away from the arena floor to the infirmary, Hinata had remained awake, even if just barely. The stadium's medic Nin did as good as expected in healing all her injuries. Her body was still sore and exhausted, but she now felt much better. Alright, that would be all, the medic Nin, an old man with gray hair and a mustache, stated as he finished healing her. Thank you, medic-san, Hinata would have bowed if she was able to. Now rest and try not to move much, the man then chuckled. You know, given that you were at the receiving end of the fourth jutsu, I expected your injuries to be much worse. That rotation technique you used to withstand it is truly impressive. The Rasengan was created by the fourth? Hinata asked in shock. She couldn't help but smile in pride knowing that she pushed Naruto so much to make him resort to his trump card, as well as feel admiration for her crush to master a jutsu so advanced. Naruto-kun is truly something else. Indeed, the medic Nin agreed. I'm sure he will win the tournament and earn a promotion, but those who manage to do well against him might be worth considering as well. Ahem, somebody said behind them. The medic turned around to see the Hyuga clan matriarch, Hikari, standing in front of them. Thank you for healing my daughter, medic-san. If you are finished, may I talk with my daughter alone? Hikari requested. Of course, Hyuga-san, the medic replied, before leaving. If you need anything else, call me or any of the other medics. We will, thank you again, Hikari politely replied. Once she was technically alone with her daughter, there were other genin in nearby beds. She sat on her daughter's bed, besides her. How do you feel, Hinata? Better, Hinata replied. She became a bit dour, and averted her gaze. Sorry I lost. I know the clan had high hopes for me, and I disappointed them. Hikari emphatically smiled, and placed a hand on Hinata's leg. Don't be so harsh on yourself. Naruto-kun was a tough opponent to beat. I doubt that anybody would blame you for losing against him. In fact, you put up a very good fight. Thanks, mother, Hinata replied. In fact, I don't remember seeing you fighting as fiercely as you did just now, Hikari pointed out, drawing Hinata's attention. Seeing your fight today reminded me of somebody. Really? Who? Hinata asked, her curiosity piqued. Myself, was Hikari's response, shocking Hinata a bit. It has been so long that I have forgotten, but seeing you fight down there made me remember how much I used to be like you. Hinata couldn't believe what she was hearing. Hikari had always been her role model, her ideal of a perfect woman. Kind and caring, but strong and skilled. A perfect balance between gentleness and firmness Hinata always tried to emulate, but was unable to. If that was true, there might be hope for her as well. Our clan had always valued power, and strove to be recognized among Konoha's strongest. Like you, I was told that I was too kind and gentle for my own good. And I was also told that I wasn't worthy, Hikari recounted, bitterness lacing her words. Worthy of what? Hinata asked. Of being your father's wife, Hikari replied. Of course, the wife of the future clan head had to be somebody strong and imposing, not a delicate wallflower like me. But I couldn't stop my heart from longing to be with him, just like yours probably does the same for Naruto-kun. Hinata became incredibly red. She tried to babble a response, but her mother interrupted her. Yes, I know. I'm your mother, of course I know, Hikari shot her daughter a teasing smile. But even if I wasn't, I don't think it'd take too long for me to figure out. I have noticed that you fight with an inner fire whenever Naruto-kun is present. You want to impress him. To show him what you're capable of. To make him notice you. Am I right? Do you think I impressed him? Hinata knew better than trying to deny her mother's statements. Oh, I'm completely sure. Didn't he tell you himself? Hikari asked her. Well, might have said that just to be polite, Hinata insecurely replied. I doubt that. Naruto-kun is the kind of person who wears his heart on his sleeve. He wouldn't praise somebody if he didn't mean it, Hikari reassured her daughter. Still, I have the feeling that I could have done better. If I had mastered the heavenly spin, maybe I could have put up a better fight, Hinata said. Maybe. But the heavenly thunderstorm was a sight to behold. Even if imperfect, it net you a win during the first round. Not everybody can create a new jutsu of such caliber in the middle of a fight, Hikari told her. Heavenly thunderstorm? Hinata asked. That's the name Hanabi gave it. Though you can name it in a different way if you don't like it, Hikari told her, then she chuckled. And rest assured that Hanabi won't leave you alone until you teach it to her. Hinata smiled. Heavenly thunderstorm sounds perfect. And tell Hanabi-chan that I'll teach her how to do it whenever I can. But first, I'd like to learn the heavenly spin myself. Niji-Nizan told me I lack speed, so maybe I should focus on building that. Niji-kun stated that his sensei, Mato Guy, is a specialist in physical training. Maybe he can help you with that, Hikari suggested. I'll go talk with Guy-sensei and ask him if he's willing to train me, then. One last thing, Hikari said, as if remembering something important. At the end of your fight with Tamaki-san, your chakra reserves were almost drained. Yet when you fought against Naruto-kun, your chakra pools were full. Did you eat a soldier pill? Hinata shook her head. Naruto-kun shared some of his chakra with me. His chakra reserves are so big, he only needed a tiny fraction to restore mine completely. Hikari pondered Hinata's words. So Naruto-kun's chakra is compatible with yours? Hinata shook her head again. No. We tried to test it when he brought the possibility of sharing his chakra with others, given that he has so much, but he somehow is able to alter his chakra to make it compatible with other people's. Hikari's eyes were wide open. Are you telling me that Naruto-kun is a universal chakra donor? That's very rare. With his huge chakra pool, that makes him even more of an invaluable ally. Hinata smiled. Naruto-kun is truly something, isn't it? Indeed he is. And speaking of him, how about if we watch him fight? Hikari suggested. His match has to be right now. I'd love to, but I doubt that the medics will let me out, Hinata replied. Hikari rolled her eyes, but smiled. Hinata, did you forget about the Byakugan? Being lovesick certainly messes with one's mind. Hinata blushed furiously. Oh, right, sorry. Stadium's arena. It took some time for everybody to accept the Kage's decision of having one more match in order to have a more traditional fight for the final. And everybody was completely sure that the Kazekage had something to do with it. Still, as soon as the realization that a duel between Naruto and Sasuke wouldn't be any less spectacular than a three-way fight, the complaints began to die down as the public got ready for what they knew it would be a very memorable match. I can already see it, a new house, bigger, with staff, a private onsen, a bigger garden, Tsunade gushed as she hugged her betting tickets. Oh! And a private massage therapist. Kami knows how stressed I come home some days. Do you think it's safe to bet so much for Naruto, Tsunade-sama? Sasuke has never been defeated by any other genin yet, Shursui asked her. Tsunade shook her head in a condescending manner. Yet being the key word, my dear Shursui. Naruto has improved a lot since he left the academy. I can agree with that, Sakura interjected. I'm pretty sure that Naruto was holding back in the prelims, and from what I could see he got even better. I want Sasuke-kun to win, and I know he can, but Naruto is going to be a tough opponent to beat. Keep dreaming, Pinky. Sasuke might beat Naruto Nizan in prettiness, but when it comes to kicking ass, there's nobody better than him. Kaida defiantly replied. Naruto and Sasuke stood in front of each other, studying their rival while expectantly waiting for the match to begin. You know Sasuke, Naruto began. Even if it kind of sucks that we got cheated of the finals, I am glad that I get to fight to you one-on-one. You have no idea how much I've been waiting for this moment. The moment I finally defeat you. Your wait will end in disappointment, then, Sasuke replied with a smirk. Then again, I would lie if I say that I'm not excited to fight you. You're one of the few people here that can give me a challenge worthy of my skills. I believe Haku and that Kumo girl already did that, Naruto retorted. You should stop underestimating your rivals. It's not underestimating if it's true. Didn't I defeat both of them? Sasuke asked. Just like I will defeat you. I see you guys are ready. In that case, the 10th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Sasuke Uchiha, from Konoha, and Naruto Uzumaki, from Konoha. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. In less than a second, Sasuke activated his Sharingan, unsheathed his katana, and dashed at Naruto ready to strike. Despite his speed, Sasuke wasn't fast enough to stop Naruto from using his signature jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. By the time Sasuke reached close-quarter combat, Naruto was surrounded by an army of clones. With a quick swipe of his blade, Sasuke managed to dispel some of them. However, the remaining clones wasted no time in pulling several kunai and shuriken and tossed them at Sasuke, forcing him to fall back. While Sasuke was deflecting and dodging the incoming projectiles, the Naruto clones charged while the original remained behind, something Sasuke already expected. He'll want to trick me into attacking the original, but then he'll switch with a clone and I'll be left wide open. Fat chance about that happening, Naruto, Sasuke thought as he made several hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke breathed a massive fireball, which caught most clones off guard, instantly dispelling them, as it flew towards Naruto while leaving a trail of scorched earth behind. The original Naruto merely tossed a kunai with a deep blue tag on it, which upon being activated released a massive amount of water, cancelling the fireball, and leaving the arena covered in steam. Sasuke saw several flashes of orange crossing the steam cloud. A Naruto clone then appeared from behind, delivering a punch to his side, disappearing in the steam before the Uchiha had any time to react. Another clone kicked him in the shin, before vanishing again. Damn it, this is like Haku's mist all over again. Sasuke inwardly cursed. Fortunately for him, the steam dispelled by itself in a couple of minutes, revealing Naruto as well as a dozen clones. I didn't thought that I'd have to resort to this so soon, Sasuke stated as he started making hand seals. But guess that if I want to defeat you, I can't afford to hold back, even if that means I'll be at a disadvantage in the finals. Fire release, Burning Man. Sasuke's whole body was wreathed in flames. The youngest Uchiha smirked under his cloak of fire. Now not only you can't touch me without hurting yourself, but your wind jutsu will be useless. Naruto wasn't impressed. And you think that setting yourself on fire is going to dash? The blonde was interrupted when a red blur dashed at him, instantly dispelling all the clones it touched. When it reached Naruto, he was able to use body replacement with one of the remaining clones, which was instantly poofed. Shit. I forgot the fire also made him insanely fast. Guess that I'll have bring reinforcements. Naruto thought as he pulled out a smoke bomb and tossed to the ground, creating a cloud of smoke. The burning Uchiha was forced to stop on his tracks, but that wouldn't be enough to deter him. You won't be able to hide from me, Sasuke stated as he started making hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Another side effect of the Burning Man is that the user's fire jutsu were way more powerful, as evidenced by the even bigger fireballs Sasuke managed to breathe. However, Naruto had already a way to counter that. Summoning Jutsu. The air displaced by the summoning managed to blow away the smoke, revealing a 3-meter-tall blue-skinned toad with a yellow belly, holding a kanabo in one hand, and a large rectangular metal plate in the other. Upon seeing the fireball coming, the amphibian immediately yelped and covered behind his makeshift shield, which successfully blocked the fire attack. Damn it Naruto, don't summon me to act as a meat shield so suddenly, the toad complained. Sorry Ryoko, but there was little I could do, Naruto, standing on the toad's head, apologized. Say, do you think you can help me win this match? I'm in the Chunin exam finals. The toad looked around, and noticed the large crowd gathered around. Wait, you're fighting in front of such a large crowd? The toad then smiled widely. Why didn't you summon me earlier? I love to show off my awesome moves. Good to see we're on the same page, Naruto sighed in relief. He then pointed at Sasuke. That's our rival. Ryoko grew confused. Why is that kid on fire? Is he okay? HN. Do you think a fat frog is going to help you win? Sasuke dismissively asked. Ryoko didn't take the insult well. First of all, I'm not a frog, but a toad. Second, I'm not just any toad, but the great Ryoko, warrior sage and hero of the Toad clan. And third, I'm not fat, I'm bulky. Sasuke didn't say anything in return, and made several hand seals. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A volley of fireballs flied at Ryoko, which one again hid behind his oversized metal plate. However, while he was doing so, the youngest Uchiha, taking advantage of his current speed, flanked the large toad and prepared to attack him from the side. Too bad for him, Naruto was already waiting for him. Going somewhere? Naruto asked as he summoned several clones who jumped at Sasuke. Sasuke made quick work of them, but by the time he was finished, Ryoko had turned around and his kanabo was descending upon him. The youngest Uchiha leaped in the air a couple seconds before the large metal club smashed into the ground. Ryoko, now! Naruto called. Ryoko nodded, as his dewlap swelled. Water release, Water Bullet Jutsu. The large toad exhaled a powerful stream of water, which Sasuke was unable to dodge mid-air. The attack was strong enough to put out his cloak of fire, and had enough force to push him backward several meters, before he finally falling to the ground with a loud thud. We got him. Time for the final blow. Naruto commanded. Ryoko nodded, and leaped high into the air, falling right where Sasuke was, still trying to stand up. "Shit!" the Uchiha yelled upon seeing Ryoko's frame looming over him, and made a hand seal. Naruto could see Sasuke's body flickering just before Ryoko landed on the ground with a loud crash, and looking around, noticed Sasuke several meters behind him. He was making several hand seals. "Ryoko, behind you," Naruto pointed out. "Let's attack together this time. I'd hate to share my spotlight, but I can see that this rival is unlike any other," the large toad admitted. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Sage art, morning breath. Ryoko opened his mouth, releasing a nasty-looking green gas, which combined with Naruto's wind attack, formed a green, more than likely toxic tornado. However, Sasuke finished his jutsu just in time. Summoning jutsu. The Uchiha slammed his palm on the ground, creating a cloud of smoke. And from the smoke, a black hawk the same size as Ryoko emerged, flying above the deadly attack, carrying Sasuke on its back. "What the hell?" Naruto indignantly asked. "Sasuke has a summon?" Sakura asked in disbelief, looking at Shizun. The older medic Nin shrugged. "Don't ask me. I'm as surprised as you," she replied, before turning at Shisui. The oldest Uchiha nodded. "Yeah, that was Itachi and me. Sasuke asked if we could get him a summoning contract in order to increase his arsenal. We were going to offer him to sign the crow contract, but Itachi remembered that the clan used to have a hawk contract hidden in one of our secret hideouts, reserved for the most exceptional members. Itachi thought that said contract would fit Sasuke better than the crow one. Is this the first time he uses it?" Shizun asked. Shisui shook his head. "Obviously no. Sasuke was able to summon some of the smaller hawks when we trained, but this is the first time he summons one so large. Shizun-sensei, can I have a summoning contract too?" Sakura asked with pleading eyes. "It's not that easy, girl," it was Tsunade who replied. "Summoning a creature, even a small one, takes huge amounts of chakra, and your reserves aren't exactly that big. I have no problem allowing you to sign my slug contract, but you won't get much mileage out of it." Sakura visibly deflated, and slumped on her seat. "Oh," she sadly replied. "And is there a way to increase one's chakra reserves?" "Increasing your stamina is a good way," Shizun replied. "Maybe I could ask Guy to give you some more intensive physical training if you wish." "Training under Guy-sensei?" Sakura asked, as an horrible image appeared in her mind. "He won't make me wear a jumpsuit, will he?" "You must be Sasuke Uchiha, aren't you?" the hawk asked in a feminine voice. "The new summoner. The chicks told us about you." "Indeed I am," Sasuke confirmed. "My name is Kazehane, pleased to meet you." "What can I do for you, Sasuke-san?" the hawk replied. "I'm fighting in the Chunin exam finals. See that blonde kid on top of a toad? I need to defeat them in order to pass," Sasuke explained. Kazehane eyed at the Uchiha's opponents, and tilted her head in curiosity. "A toad summoner. He must be quite a skilled ninja if the toads allowed him to be their summoner. Can you help me defeat them or not?" Sasuke asked, a bit impatient. "You can count on it," Kazehane replied before diving at Naruto and Ryoko, legs forward. "Suddenly I feel like eating fried chicken." Ryoko replied as he hid behind his shield and readied his kanabo. Naruto was also ready to attack as well. "Then I see hunger in your future," Kazehane replied as she latched onto the toad's large shield, and pried it from its webbed hand. "Sasuke-san, now." Sasuke jumped from the hawk's back and made several hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Naruto wasted no time and pulled another kunai with a water seal on it and tossed it at the incoming fireball. The ensuing explosion of water cancelled Sasuke's attack, creating a cloud of steam. But Sasuke was already waiting for that reaction. Lightning release, Thunder Blade. "Shit!" Naruto and Ryoko said in unison. Sasuke emerged from the steam cloud with his sword drawn and crackling with electricity. Naruto tried to made the hand seals of one of his wind jutsu, but it was too late. Sasuke stabbed his electric sword into Ryoko's gut, and the toad instantly disappeared, leaving a cloud of smoke behind. Crap! Naruto cursed as he landed. He didn't have any time to do anything before Sasuke pressed the attack and delivered a painful flying kick to his temples, sending the blonde flying back, before he was caught mid-air by Kazehane's talons. "You fought well, kid," the hawk praised as she flew upwards. "But I believe it's about time for you to yield." "You'd wish. By the way, how much weight can you carry?" Naruto asked as an idea formed in his mind. "What's the point of that question?" the giant bird asked in confusion. "Oh, you'll see now. Shadow Clone Jutsu." Suddenly, Kazehane found herself being weighted down by dozens of Naruto clones who appeared from nowhere and latched onto her, forcing her down. Some of the clones tried to immobilize the wings. "Too much weight," the hawk cried, but the weight was too much, and she violently crashed against the ground, before disappearing in a cloud of smoke, alongside most of the clones. Naruto and his surviving clones got up and dusted the dirt from their clothes, before their attention was drawn by Sasuke's slow clap. "Bravo, Naruto. A really smart way of getting rid of my summon. You're all what I expected to see in a worthy rival." Sasuke's face then turned into a frown. "But the fight ends now. Come on, you don't have to surrender," Naruto jokingly protested. Sasuke did not acknowledge the blonde's taunt, and made several hand seals in quick succession. Fire release, burning edge. Lightning release, thunder blade. Sasuke grabbed his sword with his right hand and a kunai with the left, the former being bathed in flames, and the latter crackling with electricity. He can use two elements at the same time? I took so long to master just one. Naruto thought as he gulped. Despite never doing it before, weaving lightning is something so easy to me, it comes naturally, Sasuke boasted as he took a fighting stance. All Uchiha have fire affinity, and I didn't seem to be an exception, so I never bothered with the litmus papers. However, I'm starting to believe that Sakura wasn't the only one who had a double affinity. In less than a second, Sasuke was already in close-quarter combat range, his flaming sword already being swept at Naruto. The blonde managed to narrowly dodge it, but then came another sweep from the electric kunai, once again forcing Naruto to jump back. While doing so, he pulled out several shuriken and tossed them at Sasuke. The Uchiha merely smirked and swung his sword once again, this time releasing a crescent-shaped fire blast that quickly traveled through the air, stopping all of Naruto's shuriken. A panicky Naruto tossed a kunai with a paper bomb attached to it, and the resulting explosion nullified the attack. Not bad, but how about this? Sasuke then crossed his flaming sword with his electric kunai, and from the crossing point fired a beam of flames coated in lightning bolts. On his part, Naruto made several hand seals. Wind release, wind wall. Pouring as much chakra as he could, Naruto generated a tornado around himself that blocked the bi-elemental attack, but the energy clash was so great that it resulted in an explosion. When the smoke cleared, Naruto stood there, with some minor burns and bruises across his body. "Despite the challenge you provide, your resistance to lose is becoming a bit irksome, Naruto," Sasuke stated as he walked calmly towards him. "What can I say? Even if I can't win, I will make sure that the enemy has to work for it," Naruto cheekily replied. "You haven't used the Rasengan yet," Sasuke noted. "I didn't see any need to use it," Naruto just shrugged. "But if it's any consolation, that may change soon. I'll make sure that you use it. Now watch this." Sasuke raised his flaming sword, which also started to crackle with electricity. "See this? Two elements at the same time. This is my most powerful move. And I even make it on the spot. If your girlfriend can do that, then somebody like me could do it as well. Fire and lightning at the same time, isn't that a bit overkill?" Naruto asked, as he began to feel uneasy, while beads of sweat dropped from his head. Are you trying to emulate plasma release? Plasma release was the combination of fire and lightning release, and one of the most destructive bloodline limits ever seen. The clan who possessed it was so feared and powerful, it spurned the Senju and the Uchiha into forming a truce in order to annihilate them. After a gruesome campaign that lasted 8 months, they put a swift end to the clan and erased that bloodline forever. Unfortunately, this was before the time of Hashirama Senju, so nobody learned anything and both clans went back to killing each other. Yes, it is. And maybe the Sharingan can't copy bloodline limits, but my talent is enough to create an equally deadly facsimile, Sasuke replied, his voice full of pride and satisfaction. So what do you say, Naruto? Do you want to see which one of our jutsu is the strongest? Naruto just smiled, and held his hand upwards, generating a sphere of chakra. I guess that I don't have much choice, do I? Without further ado, both genin lunged at each other, ready to unleash their respective most powerful attacks. Double elemental release, plasma sword. Rasengan. Both attacks clashed, the Rasengan growing 3 times in size, and Sasuke's sword releasing lightning bolts and fire waves everywhere. Both genin poured as much chakra as they could in an effort to overwhelm the other, but neither of them bulged. That is, until for a second, Sasuke's concentration wavered, and as a result the lightning from Sasuke's sword flickered out, much to the Uchiha's horror, leaving just the fire. What? No, he cried in horror. With only the power of one element, Sasuke's attack was unable to withstand the Rasengan, which started to push with such force that it blew Sasuke's sword out of his hands. With no way to protect himself, the sphere of chakra pretty much exploded in his face, violently hurling him backwards, crashing on his back with a loud thud. A moment passed. Naruto collapsed on his knees, and breathed heavily. On the other hand, Sasuke remained lying down, his only movement being erratic trembling. Yugao walked close to the Uchiha in order to check him. He was in pain and was barely able to move, but he was still okay. But clearly in no condition to continue fighting. Sasuke Uchiha can't continue fighting. The winner of the 10th match is Naruto Uzumaki. Yugao announced, and the crowd erupted into a wave of loud cheers. There will be a recession of 20 minutes in which Naruto will be healed before facing Gaara in the finals. Yes. Tsunade roared as she held her winning tickets in air as they were a trophy. Kaida and Hagane cheered alongside her as well. Yes. That's my son, people. My son beat the Uchiha genius. Shursui sighed in defeat. So this ends Sasuke's run in the exams. At the very least, he managed to score quite a few victories. Let's hope it's enough to earn him a promotion. Sakura's mouth was wide open. Wow, I knew that Naruto was strong, but that even with all the training I did with Kurenai-sensei, I'm not even close to his or Sasuke-kun's level. Still willing to train under Guy? Shizune asked her. While the black-haired woman could teach Sakura about medicine and ninjutsu, if she wanted raw power it was either Guy or Kakashi. Not without resignation, Sakura nodded. There was a certain somebody who watched the match with an unusual amount of attention, especially the last part, when Naruto used the Rasengan to gain victory. Hey number 8, did you see what the brat did last? I believe that it was no normal blast, Killer Bee asked. Yes, I had that impression the first time he used it, but now I'm completely sure, the 8 Tails replied. That kid's jutsu is based on the tailed beast ball. How did he do it while being in human form? That's almost like trying to tame a storm, Killer Bee mused. The brat has talent, that's pretty sure, which is so surprising given that he's also so immature. Bayuri not the most indicated to blame others of being immature, the tailed beast replied. Meanwhile, in the stadium's infirmary as she recovered her consciousness, Karui began to groan, and stirred. Despite the medical attention, her body was still sore, and it hurt to move any limb, so she decided to remain still for the time being. Opening her eyes, she slowly scanned her surroundings as they adapted to the artificial light. The last thing she remembered was that she was fighting Sasuke Uchiha, and then everything went black. Where am I? She managed to ask. In the infirmary, a male voice besides her said. Not without effort, Karui turned around to see Choji, sitting on his bed. Ah, she lamely replied. So this means that I lost? Choji nodded. You should have seen yourself when they brought you here. Sasuke did a number on you. What you did to me was nothing in comparison. Karui deflated. She was hoping for at least a double KO. I see, she replied, and let out a sigh. Don't feel bad. Sasuke Uchiha is one of the best genin of Konoha. Hell, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have lasted half the time you did, Choji reassured her. You shouldn't sell yourself so short either. You made me work for my victory back then. I thought that I had my work cut, Karui said. Because the way I look? Choji asked, looking at her with sad eyes. Karui took a few moments to reply. Yes, she finally admitted. By the way, listen, I am sorry for calling you fat before. Choji smiled. Thank you, he replied, followed by another moment of silence. You know you're the first one. Karui looked at him with incredulous eyes. The first one who ever defeats you? Huh, I'd wish, Choji chuckled. No, I mean the first one who apologizes after calling me fat. They both smiled at each other. The moment, however, was interrupted when a pair of medic nin carried no other than Sasuke Uchiha on a stretcher, looking as if he'd been trampled by a herd of enraged rhinos. Karui looked at the mangled Uchiha wide-eyed, her mouth forming a grimace of incredulity and shock. After some moment, she was capable of producing a coherent sentence. Wow, I don't know who the hell left the Uchiha like that, but I don't even want to cross paths with such person, Karui stated, as she winced. Yeah. I'm more and more glad each moment that I lost to you, Choji replied. Karui couldn't help but chuckle in response. Naruto and Gaara, the last remaining genin standing, walked into the arena. The crowd began to cheer as they appeared. The previous match had left everybody stunned by the sheer skill and power displayed by mere genin, and thus were expecting something similar to happen now, since both combatants had made extensive use of their abilities. Yet there were still some who thought that they hadn't revealed everything yet. You know, Naruto, Gaara spoke up. Even if it's under such unfair circumstances, I'm glad I got to fight you one-on-one. Naruto grinned at him. Huh, yeah, me too. And don't worry, the medic nin left me good as new. Good. I wouldn't be satisfied with anything less. Neither of them knew the extent of the other's abilities, but now they had a pretty good idea. Gaara was a very defensive fighter, often tanking the enemy's attacks, waiting for them to wear down and grow tired, before finishing them off. That doesn't mean that he lacked in the offensive department, as his sand made for a terrifying weapon. But as Naruto, among others, had guessed, that was also a huge weakness. Remove the sand, and Gaara was helpless. Then again, taking the sand out of the picture was something nobody has been able to accomplish yet. On the other hand, Naruto was the complete opposite. His philosophy when it came to fighting was hitting the opponent before he had the chance to hit you first, and then hit them again before they had the chance to stand up. And unlike Gaara, Naruto had a very wide arsenal. Clones, weapons, ninjutsu, summons, you name it. To summarize, you have somebody who did plenty of things ranging from good to great, fighting an opponent who was the absolute master of one thing. Everybody agreed it was an interesting combination. Yugao took a look at both genin, both eager to fight even if only one of them showed it. She raised a hand. The final match of the Chunin exams between Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha, and Gaara, from Tsunade begin. Naruto wasted no time and opened the match with his signature move. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen of Naruto clones appeared besides him. While this happened, sand started to pour from Gaara's gourd. Attack, the blonde commanded. The small clone army pulled out several kunai and shuriken and dashed at Gaara, uttering loud battle cries and cheers. On his part, Gaara merely made a hand motion, and the sand formed several tentacles. With another hand motion, the tentacles fell upon the clones. Some of them managed to dodge them, while others were instantly poofed. The clones that managed to get close tossed their weapons. As expected, a wall of sand intercepted the barrage of pointy metallic death. While they were attacking, the remaining clones were destroyed by the sand tentacles. Once the blonde army was no more, they directed their attention towards the original, who made several hand seals. Wind release, cyclone vortex. The horizontal cyclone managed to not only stop Gaara's attack, but dispel the sand as well in no time, even if the sand was technically still there. Just like I thought, besides water turning it into mud, your sand can't stand a powerful wind current, a proud Naruto stated, grinning widely. It would be mostly unwise to underestimate my abilities just because you found a couple weakness in them, Naruto, Gaara stated while waving his hand, making the sand form a cloud above the arena. Sand bullet barrage. The sand cloud began to shoot sand projectiles at such speed that they left holes in the ground upon impacting. Naruto yelped, and was forced to run and jump aside in order to avoid the deadly sand projectiles. Along the way, he sometimes created one or two clones to use as human shields. However, his speed faltered for a moment, which was enough for a sand bullet to hit him right in the gut. Air was forced out of Naruto's lungs, and the blonde fell on his butt. "Now's the moment," Gaara said as he made another hand wave. The sand of cloud stopped raining sand missiles, and formed an arm made of sand. Naruto quickly reached his ninja tool pouch, and pulled out a kunai with a water seal and tossed it at the incoming arm. However, a thin tendril of sand suddenly grew from one of the fingers, and quickly lashed the kunai away. Crap! The arm managed to grab Naruto before he had time to do anything else. The sand arm lunged him into the air before slamming him against the ground. It repeated the process multiple times. Ow! Ah! Ow! My back! My arm! Naruto cried as he was being repeatedly smashed. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto exploded into a multitude of clones, and used the clone replacement to escape the giant smashing arm of doom. "Oh boy," Naruto panted, as he winced in pain. "That's not something I want to do anytime soon. I don't like this." "Gaara is dominating the whole fight," a worried Shizen commented. "Sure, but I know that Naruto will turn the fight around." "He always does," Tsunade replied, sure of her statement, but the amount of force which she was gripping her betting tickets betrayed some worry. "Naruto Nizen's movements are slower," Hokage noticed. "Really?" Kaida asked her brother, before turning back at the arena. "Naruto Nizen, you have to move faster." "It's not that easy," Shizun interjected. "While the medics have treated Naruto-kun of all his wounds, and still has plenty of chakra to spare, there's something no medical jutsu can't relieve in an instant: physical exhaustion. And Sasuke forced Naruto to give it all. After such a fight," Shisui intervened. "Well, Naruto's muscles have to be a bit sore." Stadium's infirmary. Speaking of Sasuke, just that moment he finally recovered consciousness. Like what happened to the other genin there, his body still hurt, he felt disoriented, and it took a few moments to notice where he was. But unlike the other genin there was a certain somebody sitting on his bed. "Ugh," Sasuke groaned. As his eyes used to the light, and his vision became less blurry, he could identify the figure. "Itachi? You remember me?" "Good, that means that Naruto didn't hit you that hard," Itachi replied. Did I lose?" Sasuke asked, his words laced with regret and a bit of fear. "Given where you are, I think that the answer to that question is obvious," Itachi bluntly replied. "How are you feeling?" "My body hurts a bit," Sasuke replied. He also wanted to say that physical pain was nothing compared to his hurt pride, but the youngest Uchiha decided to shut up. He merely grunted and averted his gaze. Of course, his brother wasn't going to let him off the hook so easily. Now Sasuke, what I want to ask you is why do you think you lost? Sasuke grunted once again. Why do you ask? I'm sure you were watching. Indeed, Itachi nodded. I even had my Sharingan activated so I wouldn't miss any single detail. However, the reason behind my question is to see if you know where you failed. Sasuke shifted on his seat, and crossed his arms. Naruto's attack overpowered mine. It's just as simple as that. We both know that's a lie. You were doing fine at first, Itachi replied, hoping for Sasuke to continue. Until I found myself unable to sustain my jutsu, and everything went to hell, Sasuke replied, his voice dripping with irritation. Correct. And do you know why such thing happened? Itachi pressed. Handling two elements at the same time was harder than I expected. I thought that I could have do it, but I guess I overestimated myself, Sasuke admitted, his voice still oozing anger. Yes you did, Itachi agreed. Now tell me Sasuke, do you think such thing would have happened if you used a jutsu we practiced this month, as opposed to something you came up on the spot? Hinata made up a new jutsu on the spot and it gave her the victory of a match she was on the verge of losing, Sasuke countered. Yes, and look what happened when she tried to use that bastard version of the heavenly spin to stop a Rasengan. Just like you did, Itachi chided. There was no jutsu in my repertoire with enough power to counter a Rasengan. Turns out I'm so good with lightning release it might be a secondary affinity, and if I combined both fire and lightning, you didn't need to counter the Rasengan per se, Itachi countered. You could merely dodged it, then wait for Naruto to make a mistake, and go for the win. But I guess that seeing Naruto using a jutsu so powerful prompted you to show everybody that you were able to come up with something even better, right? Naruto had always been beneath me. He had no right to steal my spot as the best ninja of our generation, Sasuke grumbled. They were briefly distracted by Choji's laughing at something Karui said, with the redhead laughing as well. You had a good idea, Itachi told his younger brother. The problem, though, was the lack of practice. Channeling two elements at once is something not even Shursui nor myself even attempted to do, and seeing you doing such a thing was nothing short of impressive. Once the exams are over, we will work on that new jutsu of yours. Hopefully with the display you put out there, you'll have your promotion assured. By the way, what are you doing here? Sasuke asked, after he realized that something wasn't quite right. Shouldn't you be protecting the Hokage? Itachi stood up, and smiled at Sasuke. What makes you think I'm not? And Itachi disappeared in a poof of smoke. Boy, when I saw you fighting I thought that I could take you on easily, Naruto said, as he painfully got up and healed his wounds with the mystical palm jutsu. But now I know why Tenten and Fu struggled so much against you. I've been looking forward this fight, and thus I'm going to use every ounce of my skill, Gaara calmly replied. Besides, after what you did to Temari, I have to avenge her. What? A shocked Naruto screamed. But you said you have no hard feelings. What happened to, she knew what she was getting into, and all that. Don't get me wrong. I don't have any hard feelings. Temari on the other hand, can be quite vindictive, Gaara explained. And if she learns that I didn't take the chance to avenge her I will never hear the end of it. See? Ino asked to an annoyed Shikamaru. He gets it. Ugh, troublesome women, he whined. I bet you will never see a man so obsessed with revenge. In the infirmary, Sasuke sneezed. Alright, Naruto said as he bit his thumb, and started making hand seals. Prepare to meet the biggest, baddest toad that has ever been summoned. Summoning Jutsu. Naruto slammed his palm on the ground, releasing a cloud of smoke. Everybody watched intently as the smoke dispelled, wondering what kind of toad he would bring to battle. Ryoko proved to be a strong toad, and this time Naruto would call one even stronger. Hey, what's up, man? Or at least that was the idea. When the smoke dispelled, it revealed a very small red toad with a small jacket. This was Gamakichi, one of the first toads Naruto had summoned, but due to his small size, he wasn't planning to summon him to battle yet. The crowd erupted in a loud laughter, adding to Naruto's embarrassment. What are you doing here? A distressed Naruto yelled, grabbing his head with both hands in horror. You who summoned me, the amphibian replied, scratching his head. I didn't mean to summon you. I'm in the middle of a big fight. Naruto replied, just as distressed. Hey, no biggie, I can be of help, Gamakichi confidently replied as he jumped on Naruto's head. He then eyed Gaara, who was gathering all his sand. So, that's our enemy, right? Yeah, he looks like a big deal. Damn it, I thought I already had the hang of this, Naruto inwardly complained. Unbeknown to him, the physical exhaustion from Sasuke's match was starting to take its toll, and that has affecting his ability to gather and mold chakra. Well, guess that Gamakichi will have to do. Unlike other possible adversaries, Gaara didn't make any snide or dismissive comment of Naruto's failed summon, and merely prepared to attack again. He made a single-hand seal. Wind release, sand dragon bullet. The sand gathered and formed a serpentine dragon. The sand dragon let out a roar, and charged at Naruto. I've got this. Gamakichi cheerfully said before jumping in mid-air. Fire release, flame bullet. Gamakichi's dewlap swollen, and exhaled a surprisingly large fireball. The fire bullet hit the dragon, which crystallized it almost instantly. Naruto then pulled out a kunai and tossed it at the dragon, shattering it completely. See? I'm useful. Gamakichi cheered. Wind release, multiple sand dragon bullets. This time, Gaara formed 5 several sand dragons, slightly smaller than the first one, which charged at Naruto and his toad friend from 5 different sides. Gamakichi yelped, and jumped back towards Naruto before the sand dragons could get him. Gamakichi, I'm going to try something. When I say, now, I want you to use that fire jutsu of yours, okay? Naruto asked. The toad merely nodded. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto created once again an army of clones, and they charged towards the dragons. The sand dragons, however, plowed through the clones like they were made of paper. However, they weren't the blonde's target, as the original, with Gamakichi on his head, was heading towards Gaara. The redhead noticed Naruto's advance, so he commanded the sand dragons to focus on him. However, Naruto would simply create more clones to act as human shields. When he reached a close enough distance, he put his plan into motion. The Konoha Jinchuriki pulled out a single shuriken from his tool pouch and tossed it at Gaara. The moment it left his hand, he made many hand seals. Shadow clone shuriken jutsu. And then, the lone shuriken turned into 50. A wall of sand quickly rose, ready to block the deathly rain of steel. Gamakichi, now! Naruto yelled. All right. Gamakichi jumped from Naruto's head, while taking air. Fire release, flame bullet. The fire projectile managed to pass the shuriken, and exploded against the wall of sand, turning it into glass. The shuriken then hit the glass, shattering it, and leaving Gaara completely vulnerable. Naruto knew this was his chance, and formed a Rasengan in his hand. Gaara opened his eyes in shock, and started to move back, but it was too late. Naruto, wait! Gamakichi called. Rasengan. The spiraling chakra sphere hit the Tsunade Jinchuriki right in the guts, and it began to expand before exploding and Gaara suddenly burst into a cloud of sand. Naruto, that one's a clone. Gamakichi called. The real one is over ACK. The small toad didn't notice sand slipping close to him before it was too late, and was forcefully unsummoned. So, a clone replacement, Naruto said in realization. You pulled it very quick. Indeed. Had I been a second slower, I would have lost, Gaara admitted. That jutsu of yours is truly something. Maybe it can even manage to bypass my defense. Naruto just chuckled. The previous matches already showed that your defense is all but unbreakable. You know, Sasuke thought that his jutsu could be able to match mine, and look at what happened. Do you want to try? This should answer your question, Gaara replied as he made a hand seal. Suddenly, a wall of sand formed between Gaara and Naruto. The latter grinned, and merely extended his hand, forming the sphere of destruction once again. Naruto charged at the wall, who grew multiple spikes the moment the blonde was closer, not that they did much to deter the charging Konoha ninja. Rasengan. The effect was instant, and the ensuing chakra explosion completely tore the wall apart. Naruto could see that Gaara had made multiple walls behind the first one, but the explosion had still enough energy to blow them up as well. How about that? Naruto cockily asked. Impressive, mostly impressive, Gaara praised. Now I certainly know that I have to make sure you don't get near me at all costs. Well, you will try, Naruto said as he adopted a fighting stance. Gaara made a hand seal. Wind release, Maws of Shikaku. Gaara's sand gathered and formed the head of monstrous Tanuki, which Naruto guessed was the one tail, which opened its huge and terrifying maws while it moved towards Naruto, as if he tried to engulf the blonde. Naruto once again tossed a kunai with a water seal on it, but another sand whip appeared out of the sand construct and flicked it away. As fast as he could, Naruto started making hand seals, but the sand construct closed its jaws upon him. However, a second later the sand monster was blown away by a tornado coming from the inside. The sand took no time to gather and form into several tentacles which launched themselves at Naruto. The blonde, however, had a plan. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A handful of clones appeared around the original. Several charged at Gaara, while others moved in the opposite direction. The sand tentacles took no time to stop the clones from getting to close, but while this was happening, the other clones went to pick the kunai with the water seals, while the original made some hand seals. Wind release, Cyclone Vortex. The Naruto clones tossed the kunai at the wind jutsu while activating the water seals, creating a huge horizontal water vortex aimed at Gaara. The sand raised several walls, but all what they did was to absorb the water, and becoming mud. It was the time to strike. Naruto formed a Rasengan on his hand and dashed at Gaara, easily plowing through the softened walls of sand, getting closer to a panicky Gaara. However, the Tsunade ninja had still one last card to play. Ultimately hard absolute defense, Shield of Shikaku. Once again, Gaara summoned a toy sand replica of Shikaku between Naruto and himself. The sand construct gave him the victory against his previous two opponents, and this time he made it even bigger, spending almost all his remaining chakra yet. Still, Naruto was undeterred. Rasengan. The spiraling chakra sphere clashed against the sand construct, expanding and releasing all the contained chakra at once. The ground started to shake as the sand construct tried to absorb the energy of the Rasengan. Cracks started to appear and spread around it, and chunks of sand started to blow apart. Naruto grinned, while Gaara's panic increased, as he poured even more chakra into his jutsu, which resulted in the damage made to the sand creature partially repaired, and the whole construct hardened even more. With no way to break it, the energy released by the Rasengan was pushed outwards, and Naruto's own jutsu exploded on his face, hurling him backwards. Now's my chance. Gaara thought as he dispelled the Shikaku's shield and gathered all his remaining sand. Desert Funeral. Before Naruto had time to get up, Gaara buried his opponent under all his remaining sand, which was still quite a lot, trapping Naruto. He was expecting the blonde to burst through his attack like he did multiple times before, but nothing happened. 1 minute passed, nothing happened. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. After that, Gaara tentatively removed the sand, to reveal an immobile and unconscious Naruto. Yugao went to check the blonde. Thankfully, he was still alive and breathing, but in no condition to fight anymore. Sighing, she proceeded to do her job. Naruto can't continue fighting. Winner of the match, and champion of the Chunin exams Gaara of Suna. Yugao declared. The public burst into a mix of cheers and boos. Cheers because it was a spectacular match which got the people's interest, and didn't care much that a foreign ninja won. Others, however, weren't so kind to forgive the way Gaara got into the finals. Still, the redhead didn't seem to care much. I already told you, Jiraya, Raza told him with a smug smile. There's no genin who can beat Gaara. Wonder if Gaara would have won if Naruto didn't have to fight Sasuke beforehand, Jiraya countered. Because even with that handicap, it was a very narrow victory. Yeah, whatever, I'm glad this thing is over, the Raikage grumbled as he got up from his seat. Raza followed suit. Jiraya just shook his head, and body flickered into the arena, before addressing the crowd. Well, with that concludes the Chunin exams. Jiraya began. Congratulations not just to the champion, but to all of you who managed to make it all the way to the finals. We all hope that you impressed the examiners enough to warrant a promotion, as well as making your fellow villagers proud. Come tomorrow to the Hokage's tower if you're interested in seeing which ones of our magnificent genin managed to score a promotion. No! Tsunade screamed as she fell on her knees. My new house. My staff. My onsen. My massage therapist. Everything is lost. There, Kaida patted her distressed mother on the back. Come on, don't cry. Naruto Nizan did great. You know, it's not that I want say, I told you so, Shizun began, not giving the slug Sannin any sympathy. But I did tell you so. Stadium's infirmary Shibuki was sitting beside Fu's bed. The green-haired girl was still asleep, and the Taki leader didn't want to disturb her. The Konoha medics made an excellent job patching up all her wounds, almost appearing as if the Taku Kunoichi never got her shoulder pierced by a spear made of super-compressed sand. He couldn't help but feel guilty about giving Fu a vial with some hero water. He should have realized that, being a Jinchuriki, it would have increased the power of the tailed beast inside her. In hindsight, it was a good thing that Gaara ended up winning, or else the match would have ended up in a tragedy. And, unfortunately, Raza's words turned out to be prophetic. After such display, there's no way everybody watching wouldn't guess that Fu was a Jinchuriki. Soon the word would spread, and she would be in an ever greater danger. See? This is what I didn't want you to come here, Shibuki moaned aloud. You can't protect her forever, a voice behind him said, startling the young leader. She needs to learn how to defend herself, and such thing won't happen if you keep her caged. Shibuki turned around to see the white-haired Sannin, Jiraya. He knew what was coming next. Your medics did a wonderful job healing her, Shibuku praised. After Tsunadeheim took charge of our healthcare, our medics have become true miracle workers, the Hokage replied. Come with me. Don't worry about her, she will be fine. Not without resignation, Shibuki obliged. Before shooting her one last glance, he joined Jiraya, and both village leaders started to walk through an empty hallway. I guess that you want to talk about how I had two Jonin pose as Fu's genin teammates, am I right? Shibuki fearfully asked. You went right to the point. I think I'm starting to like you, Jiraya smiled at him. But don't think for a second that repercussions won't be any less severe. I am listening, Shibuki told him. Okay then. First of all, Fu shall be promoted to Chunin, Jiraya began. Shibuki nodded. Fu had made quite a display of power in both her matches. If she went to another exam, with even more training and experience, she would completely steal the spotlight, and thus potential clients from other villages. Second, whenever Konoha needs Taki's assistance for whatever reason, you will send it. No exceptions, and no excuses. Jiraya firmly stated. We don't have enough ninja available? Shibuki asked. You will leave 15% of your total forces inside your village as a reserve force just in case, Jiraya quickly countered. And lastly, 10% of Taki's next year's income will go to Konoha. Do you accept my terms, Shibuki-san? When the elders knew of what happened, they would claim for his head. He had to think something to let him keep the leader's seat. Then again, he had no other options. Yes, Hokage Dano. I accept, Shibuki replied, and sighed in defeat. Good. Jiraya heartily smiled. I will prepare a treaty to make it official. Let this be a lesson on what happens when you try to fool me, Shibuki-san. Sometime later, Naruto opened his eyes. Like many genin before him, he found himself laying on a bed on a place he recognized as an infirmary of some sorts. The stadium's infirmary, he deduced. His body was all sore, and trying to move his arms or legs caused him no small amount of pain. Hey, you're awake, Naruto-kun, a female voice besides him said. Turning around, and blinking a few times, his eyes recognized Shizen's form. The Jonin was sitting beside his bed, smiling sweetly at him. Shizen-nichan? What happened? Naruto groggily asked. He had very vague recollections of the later stages of his last match, but if he was in the infirmary then it only could mean one thing. Did I lose? Shizen gave him a consoling smile, and nodded. But in your defense, you made Gaara work for his victory. I see, Naruto replied, deflated. He then noticed that the room was strangely silent. Looking around, he noticed that the other beds were empty. Where is everybody else? They have been sent to their homes, Shizen explained. You've been here for a few hours now. I've been waiting for you to wake up so we can go home. Hopefully, you will be almost completely recovered by tomorrow. I see. Where are Mom and Dad? Naruto asked. Jiraiya-sama is in a meeting with the Council of Advisors. They already have the examiner's report, and are discussing which genin deserve to be promoted, Shizen explained. Before Naruto could say anything, she added, if I were you, I wouldn't be worried. Given your performance, you have the promotion in the bag. Hehe, good to know, Naruto replied, his usual mood slowly coming back. And Mom? She took the twins home, but she later came back, Shizen told him. Tsunade-sama bet a large sum of money on you during the last match, and losing it all well, she didn't take it very well. Naruto shivered in terror. Oh boy, I think I'd better pack my things and leave the village, right? Shizen laughed at Naruto's reaction. Nah, it won't be that bad. I believe she should have blown off the steam by now. Honestly, it's a miracle that her yells didn't wake you up. Anyway, I better tell her that you're awake so we can go back home. The Jonin got up and walked towards the door. With no small amount of effort, Naruto sit up. He looked around the empty room once again, and sighed. You know I was planning on asking Hinata out once the exams were over. Pity she isn't here anymore. When she was opening the door, Shizen turned around. Funny thing you should mention that. You have no idea how much it took to make her leave. She wanted to stay at your side until you woke up. She'd been watching over you until her clan retrieved her about an hour or so ago. Really? Naruto asked in disbelief. He smiled softly, and looked down. That was very nice of her. Indeed it was. Now, take all the time you need before we go back, okay? Nobody wants you to force your body, Shizen said before leaving. I'll get a wheelchair. Naruto nodded, as he started to slowly get out of the bed. He couldn't help but think about what Shizen told him regarding Hinata. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.